On the pre-show, we saw Buddy Murphy defeating Cedric Alexander to retain the Cruiserweight title. Honestly, I just wish I cared more about this Cruiserweight division. I really do. Also on the pre-show, Elias defeated Bobby Lashley in a guitar on a ladder match. Very random. I don't Initially I thought the rules were if you climbed up and grabbed the guitar, you got to use it. Not that if you just climbed the ladder, you won by grabbing the guitar, but okay, fine. Then Elias tries to use the guitar on Lashley, but Leo Rush interferes. Standard stuff here, but the actual event, the actual pay-per-view starts. TLC, we see Carmella and R-Truth versus Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox. The finals of the Mixed Match Challenge. This Mixed Match Challenge tournament has been a mess. Just a complete waste of time with all of the participants being changed out, swapped out due to injuries or storylines. What a waste! But Carmella and R-Truth, I do have a lot of fun with them. I do love the dance breaks, and there was really no other winner you can have besides the two of them. They will be number 30 in their respective men's and women's Royal Rumble match. The part where they got to pick a vacation and R-Truth picked WWE Studios or the headquarters in Connecticut. I thought that was lazy. Look, I know R-Truth is supposed to be a little dumb and goofy, but it just made me think, could WWE really not afford to fly these guys to an actual resort or an actual exotic location, take some cameras, and shoot some fun bits that they could air on SmackDown? No, I guess they're just going to air stuff from the headquarters. Sheamus and Cesaro defeated the Usos and New Day to retain the tag team championships. In some ways, I wish this was a tables, ladders, and chairs match, but then when you get to the main event, maybe that would have been a bit much. These three teams have been facing each other for years, it feels like, and they put on great matches. Tonight was no different. I like that Sheamus and Cesaro won, especially on their own. They don't have Big Show in their corner anymore. It makes more sense. Then we see Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin was convinced that Braun wasn't going to show up, that he was injured. And this, too, was a tables, ladders, and chairs match, and I thought that was odd. Maybe Strowman didn't get cleared soon enough, so that's why they originally made this match, but then by the time it came to it, he couldn't actually go. He did come out in a sling, and then he talked about how all of the wrestlers, well, some of the wrestlers on Raw who have been wronged by Corbin, Apollo Crews came out first, and I thought, really? This is a guy that Corbin's supposed to be intimidated by? And then Bobby Roode and Chad Gable came out, even though they just won the tag team titles after Corbin gave them numerous shots, albeit unfair shots, but still, they've gotten a few chances to win the belts. They finally did. Finn Balor came out, which let me know that I guess he isn't sick anymore, and he was going to wrestle later on. And then Kurt Angle came out, which was nice to see Kurt back. Heath Slater, I've actually enjoyed the storyline of him being forced to be a referee against his will and having to swerve on certain matches. It's already over, though, because they beat up Corbin and Strowman just pins him, and that's it. It's kind of weird that Corbin, not only this is how he loses his general manager spot, which, thank God, Raw has been horrible. It's not Corbin's fault. Obviously, he's not really booking the show, but him in an authority figure position, him with all of those segments on Raw, backstage and talking, it's been brutal. And hopefully that gets put out. But Strowman becoming number one contender to fight Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble in this fashion was a little odd as well, but Natalya defeated Ruby Riott in a tables match. The storyline has been a little you could say controversial. Some people hate the fact that they've included Jim Neidhart and his death and whatnot. But if Natalia's cool with it, then I'm cool with it. And honestly, this is wrestling. This is what we do. I'm totally okay with it. I love the fact that Natalia put various members of the Riot Squad through tables. Liv Morgan took a very hard spot through the table off the apron. Sarah Logan got slammed through the table. And then Natalia put Ruby through the table that had her own picture on it. Finally, Natalia has a feel-good moment. It was cool to see her wear her father's jacket. Apparently, that wasn't his only sunglasses because she took out another pair. So there you go. Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre. This was a good match. I am a little surprised. Dolph Ziggler interferes and costs Drew the match. This is weird because Drew is obviously receiving a big push. The company has big plans for him, it seems like. Finn Balor, I've almost given up on just the idea of thinking that he's going to be a top guy. So to give him this big win, it's kind of cool, but also it's confusing because I don't really think anything's going to come out of it for Finn. I think this was just to set up the match with him and Ziggler tomorrow night on Raw. Ziggler just beat Drew a couple of weeks ago, and so maybe that feud will continue with McIntyre as well. Rey Mysterio defeating Randy Orton in a chairs match. I never really liked the stipulation of a chairs match. It just sounded silly to me. You can use nothing but chairs. But this match, they did do some cool stuff with chairs, like Rey Mysterio sliding out of the ring with the chair onto Orton. He tried to do the senton out of the ring and landed on the chairs. There was some cool moments. The surprise roll-up by Rey Mysterio only has me confused because Randy Orton, again, is, monster heel right now, going after legends, like he said. And I figure he was going to go on to either challenge for a title or fight somebody like AJ, maybe. So to have him lose, surprising. But him losing also makes me think that maybe this feud will continue. And I don't love the idea of that because I've seen these guys feud a lot before years ago, the Eddie Guerrero storyline. I don't really know if I want to see them have a long program again. Ronda Rousey defeating Nia Jax. This was a pretty good match. I wasn't expecting it to be too bad, especially because we've seen them fight once before. This time, though, I was very happy to see Ronda make Nia tap out. And I loved it even more to see Becky Lynch go up to Nia Jax backstage, bitch her out, punch her in the face, call her out for breaking her nose last month, and Nia just took it. So hopefully this is like the end of seeing Nia on TV, at least as much as we have been doing. She's been getting on my nerves lately. Tamina, it really seems like a waste of space next to her. Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles. This was a really good match. This was the match between the two of them that I've been waiting to see, honestly. I thought they went all out. Daniel Bryan, his heel turn was initially very awkward and weird for me, but I think now it's starting to make more sense. It's starting to develop, and I'm really buying him as this weird and vegan-like heel. And just AJ Styles really... I didn't really think he was going to win the belt back, but during the match, there was 2 or 3 different times where it almost got me. The submission move, the 450, like there was a lot of spots where I thought AJ looked like he could have won. Bryan barely pinned AJ to keep the title. Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins for the Intercontinental title. I'll be honest, this is around the point where I start to feel the length of the show. These 4 to 5 hours are too long. They are. And look, if I had a choice between cutting back on the pay-per-views or cutting Raw back to 2 hours, I would obviously choose cutting Raw back to 2 hours. That's a given. But sometimes these pay-per-views, the co-brandedness and the fact that you want to get as many people from both shows on here, I appreciate it, but man, I was getting fatigued at this point. Dean Ambrose and this heel turn, I was expecting a little bit more, to be honest. I think the heel turn, the initial turn, shocked me and really worked. I was really into this. Even I didn't mind them bringing up Roman Reigns and the leukemia stuff. Like, I was willing to go with it. It seemed after Dean getting the shot from the doctor or him with the gas mask, like this feud hasn't really been what it could have been. It hasn't lived up to the potential of the Shield breakup. Maybe it hurts the fact that Dean hasn't talked, had a sit down and talked about why exactly he turned on Seth. He said stuff here and there, but he should have really delved into it. He should have been like, he hated Seth and never really forgave him from the first time Seth turned on them. But then again, if he says that, maybe it makes Seth look like too much of the bad guy and he starts getting booed, and they don't want that. So this is all very confusing. The match itself, I was thinking while watching the match that this isn't bad technically, but I don't think them wrestling like an actual just technical wrestling match really should have fit the feud. I think this should have been more brutal. Maybe this could have been a hardcore match where they fought backstage and got more violent, at least presenting it to be more violent, going through the hallways, going outside in the streets, something that could have made Dean seem more vicious and do things that would make you feel bad for Seth. Dean Ambrose winning the title, though, was very needed, very necessary. You have to have Dean go on to be a vicious heel from this point on. Asuka versus Becky Lynch versus Charlotte in a TLC match for the women's title. Main event, mind you. Thank God. Thank God that Ronda and Nia didn't main event. Thank God it was these three women. They put on a hell of a match. The women of today have been dominating, have been doing so well, especially Becky Lynch, the man. I love her character. I love the attitude that she has. Charlotte even got a little nuts a couple of times. There was a moment where Asuka powerbombed Charlotte and her head went through the table. That looked rough. Then Becky jumped off of the ladder on top of Charlotte through the announcer's table, and Charlotte looked like her ribs maybe got broken. Then Charlotte came back and speared Asuka into the barricade, and I thought any one of these three women could have won. I had no idea. Like, it wasn't as predictable as some of the other matches. And when the two of them, Becky and Charlotte, were climbing the ladder, and Ronda Rousey shows up and pushes them both off, I know the crowd booed her, and I get it because she pushed Becky off as well. But this makes sense. It does make sense that Ronda would want payback on Charlotte and Becky. Becky, too, has been talking trash and attacked her on that Raw. So, yeah, sure, I love Becky, and Becky's my favorite right now. But story-wise, logic-wise, it makes sense that Ronda would do this. Even Becky losing the title, as much as I like her, makes sense. Because now Becky could try to win the Royal Rumble and then maybe pick Ronda, and then Becky versus Ronda at WrestleMania is something we very much need and is very much necessary. Asuka winning the title is crazy. It's just a couple of months ago I was complaining about how she was losing to the Iconics in Australia, and now she's where she belongs. She's the champ, and I can't wait to see what they do next. This was a good pay-per-view. It was too long, yes. I think there's a few of these matches that I would have cut out and I would have maybe saved for a future Raw SmackDown, but all of the big marquee matches lived up. It was a pretty entertaining show. So guys, let me know in the comments below if you have watched Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. Did you like it as well? Or did you think it was boring? Or did you not really care?